Gets up with us early.
Yeah, Dan.
From Arizona. He is ready to go. But we begin. If you didn't stay up late last night, you missed an unbelievable finish. Final play in Tampa Bay.
Zane Gonzalez looking to send Washington into the divisional round. Snap good, hold down, kick on its way. It is good! The Cardiac Commanders are the Clutch Commanders! They do it again! We'll see you in Detroit!
And Zane Gonzalez kicks in the door and kicks us into the second round of the playoffs!
A 37-yard doink for the winner, and that kid was unbelievable. We're going to dive deeply into this game. An incredible win, and Jaden Daniels finding a way for his sixth fourth-quarter comeback win this year. That's the most by any rookie in a season. I think it is a certainty now to say he has had the best rookie season of any quarterback in NFL history. We'll have much more on that game as we go. But let's take you to the Philadelphia and Green Bay. Earlier in the day, Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts and Teddy.
Oren Burks, wham, putting his head right on the football. There it is. Battle for the ball. Eagles came up in the end. You want to argue that they got that, but the Eagles and the refs gave them the ball.
Yeah, one way or another. The physicality. And here's the next play. This is the first offensive play. Saquon, there he goes. Again, running over him. Great play for the Eagles to start. And then look at the time that Jalen Hurts has on a 2nd and 9 for the touchdown.
The special teams are the running game, and look at the time. Reading a book back there, if you will. Hurts.
Got time to read a book. A.J. Brown has one for him if he feels like reading it. Now, finally,
I cover the tight end when I know you're going deep. Great play by a first-team All-Pro.
That was the second pick that Love would throw. Meanwhile, Eagles up 10-3, and then Rex, Dallas Goedert.
Oh, are you kidding me? Look at it. A right hand.
Yeah.
A boom, a knockout. Come on, this poor kid right here. My goodness. I mean, you got to get out of the league after that play. So you're out.
Carrington Valentine. Eagles would miss the extra point, so it's 16-3. D-Wood, you know the Green Bay Packer who showed up yesterday was Josh Jacobs.
Man, look, it's a travesty they didn't give that man the ball more. He was the one that brought the most juice for the Green Bay Packers in that game.
He would score a touchdown on the next play, so it's 19-10, fourth quarter, fourth down. They should absolutely have converted here, Teddy, and they don't get the feet in bounds.
That's it. I mean, this is what you are paid to do as a wide receiver. Get both feet down when the ball is there. Catchable, get your feet in bounds.
Malik Heath, because all the others say Eagles hold on to win it by a score of 22-10. It was not an artistic masterpiece, but for Saquon Barkley and company, it was more than enough.
We got to be our biggest critic, and that's what we're going to be, and we're going to see where we can improve on, but at the end of the day, you know, the opinions, that's for you guys. The only thing that really matters is how we win. Whether we throw for 400 yards, we rush for 400 yards, we win the game 3-0. I don't give a to be honest. I just want to win.
Look, that's a guy who has not had the opportunity to do a lot of high-level winning in his career. So this is a big moment for him, and they get the victory. The great Dan Orlovsky is up with us early from Arizona today. We always appreciate it, Danny. So the topic here on Philadelphia this morning has been about the physicality. They set the tone on that opening kickoff, and they just bludgeoned the Packers throughout the afternoon.
Yeah, it was certainly the defensive perspective. The defense was absolutely sensational. You know, I love the fact that they would put 5 guys across the line of scrimmage and take a little bit of the gap stuff that the Green Bay Packers run game loved to do. I thought the Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith combination in those passing situations was absolutely spectacular. And Greeny, I go back to last season, and the demise of this football team was centrally attached to the defense. And it was 2-part. One, I did not believe they played with championship effort last year. And then 2, there was really poor tackling out in space. Multiple examples again yesterday of the way that this defense runs to the football. I mean, Teddy knows this. Rex knows this. I so often remember being a younger kid and defenses would play the tape, right? And they would count how many jerseys that are our color are at the football. And Philadelphia constantly has 9, 10 guys of their jersey at the football. And I think the effort that they play with to run to the football matters. And then I also think their ability to...
I will forever wish that they had given Saquon the opportunity to go for the record. But you spent a lot of this weekend, because we had shows Saturday and Sunday, saying you rested your guys for this. You better come out there like you're shot out of a cannon. And candidly, they did that.
Yeah, and there were points where there was a little bit of rust showed. I think Jalen started with 6 in a row completions, and then he had a long stretch where he couldn't complete another football, and they looked sloppy. But still, Dio's right, but the way they hit too. I mean, guys to the ball, but just like me and Woody have been on teams where in the fourth quarter, these guys are slow getting up. They know backers are worn down because Saquon's coming on and getting leaned on. And that's the true test of, wow, man, you really just got beat up and out physical in a playoff game.
Yeah, like my dad used to say, hey, when the snow flies, man, the most physical team wins. Philly, slam dunk. They're playing at home. Nobody can beat them at home. That's my opinion. And so we'll see next week when, somebody else trots in there. But I know one thing, you better pack a lunch, all right, and a lot of lunch money, because they're going to take it from you. They're going to take your lunch and your lunch money. So to me, I mean, that's what Philly does. And look, ever since Sirianni said, you know what, I'm not apologizing for who we are. We're much better when we have more rushing attempts than we do passing attempts. He doesn't need to apologize. All he does is win with that formula. And by the way, the best unit in these playoffs might just be that Philadelphia Eagle defense. And I know they're certainly the best defense. They might be the best unit. I get it. Detroit's offense, pretty dang special. Ooh, I hope we see that matchup. But I love the way Vic Fangio's, has this defense just humming. They're so multiple in their coverages. You don't know what coverage they're in, but eyes are on it. And when you play a guy like Jordan Love, they had no love for him. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they know you're going to make mistakes, and they did.
To your point, the Eagles running backs had 28 carries in this game. Jalen Hurts threw 21 passes, and so that's really the difference in this game, D. Wood, the Eagles. But here's my question, and I'll get it to Danny in a minute, but D. Wood, I'll start with you. It's all well and good when you bludgeon a team like this. Mm-hmm. They may run into a situation. Next week, they will either get Matt Stafford or Sam Darnold, and if they win that, they're very likely staring at one of the best offenses we've ever seen. With Jalen Hurts at the quarterback position and the way that offense looks, are they ready to win a game where their defense doesn't dominate it? Can this Eagles team go to the Super Bowl if their defense doesn't dominate? D. Wood.
Yeah, I mean, to me, coming into the playoffs, that was the biggest question I have was Jalen Hurts. And coming off that, concussion protocol, the main thing I was looking for was how much quarterback design runs are they going to run in this game? Is Nick Sirianni and company going to put Jalen Hurts in harm's way? But I do think the quarterback running game helps Jalen Hurts get into the floor of the game. It makes him a better quarterback. I don't think, listen, these numbers, they were good for Green Bay because they just bludgeoned them. I think when you face more potent offenses, they're going to need more out of the quarterback position. So they did what they had to do against Green Bay. I still think they need more out of Jalen Hurts.
Dan, Devontae Smith had 4 catches. A.J. Brown had 1. He was quite literally reading a book on the sideline during this game. Do they have enough offensive firepower to win a game if they need to with that side of the ball?
Of course they do. So Jalen Hurts played as well as he could yesterday. He played as well as he was asked to play yesterday. Everyone's going to sit here and go, and that's why I sent out a tweet yesterday. Like, the conversation around Jalen Hurts is going to be really interesting because there's going to be a lot of people saying, man, Jalen Hurts didn't play well. That's totally incorrect. My biggest concern is no one got open yesterday for the Philadelphia Eagles. They were absolutely gloved up by Green Bay defensively. Jalen had nothing else to do with the football. The decision-making was on time. The decision-making was crisp. The way he threw the football was crisp except for one step or a one-step slant to A.J. Brown at some point in the third quarter. My biggest concern with all this, and again, it is not Jalen Hurts. I thought Jalen Hurts didn't look rusty at all. My biggest concern is, how does it look like Green Bay knew what every pass play was? How does it look like Green Bay knew exactly what the pass concept was going to be? How does it look like Green Bay knew exactly where the receivers were going to be on a consistent basis? My mind, after I watched that tape, wasn't, man, Jalen Hurts struggled. I actually thought Jalen Hurts played well. My mind went to Kellen Moore, who's a friend of mine, and I think a really good coach. The pass game concepts got to grow. They got to get better. They got to infuse more because my takeaway is Green Bay, pass game wise, knew exactly who was going to be, where, and when they were going to be there, and that's how everybody got covered up.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying also in terms of playoff success and how you advance. Once the game starts and certain players understanding the game that you're in. Okay, did the Jalen produce productively as a passer? No, because he didn't have to. And I don't have to take these chances because conceptually, I'm seeing what our run game is doing as a quarterback. I'm seeing what our defense is doing over there. All right, our special teams got us a play too. So how many chances do I have to take? I think if Jalen's in a game where he feels like he needs to do more and take chances with those wide receivers, he can do enough because that's when he'll make the decision to pull the trigger and take chances.
Go ahead, Dan. Give me a final word on the Eagles offense.
It is plenty fine and capable of going and scoring 35 plus if it has to. Jalen Hurts played very well given what was asked of him, but I do think that the pass game concepts schematically have to grow for them to truly feel that they can go win a Super Bowl. It wasn't the quarterback's performance. It was the plays that were designed and called.
They will get either the Rams or the Vikings next week, and I want to clear up something. I misspoke earlier on the times of these games. That game will be the Sunday early game. The Washington game that I described earlier will be Saturday night. Washington will play at Detroit. That game is Saturday night. The NFC game, the winner of tonight's game, will play at Philadelphia in the early spot next weekend. In the meantime, the Eagles go on. The Packers go home. In this case, what happened to Jordan Love? Where was the love yesterday? I cannot wait to hear Dan Orlovsky's report on Jordan Love's performance of yesterday. We've talked a lot about it, and then it's never too early to talk about this matchup. Superman versus Action Jackson. Which hero will prevail? We're all over it as we roll on. It's Get Up on ESPN. Talk the interceptions that Jordan Love would throw. It was a very tough day for Love, and frankly, it was a Charles Dickens kind of season, as I described it. It was the best of times and the worst of times against the good teams this year, against the Lions and the Vikings and the Eagles. The Packers didn't win a game, and look at the numbers that Jordan Love put up there. As many interceptions as touchdowns, and the completion percentage is below 59%. We spent some time on this, but I don't want to prejudice the jury. Our quarterback is Dan Orlovsky. Dan, I'm giving you the floor. What was your assessment of Jordan Love's performance yesterday?
Yeah, he wasted one of the best defensive performances we've seen a defense have against this Philly offense. I mean, it was wasted. And I think the thing that caught up with Jordan Love once again is constantly thinking that the three-point shot was the only one that could win a game, very much so in the second half. And then the final one is a heave-ho. I think that Jordan Love has to really learn from last season's run in 23 and this season in 24. He wasn't healthy throughout the season. That the way that he played in 23 was so much more allowing the offense to be the star. And it felt like at times this year he tried to become the star. And in this scheme with Matt LaFleur, that's when it becomes a problem. That's when you give the ball away.
Rex.
Yeah, no, see, like this guy, like I don't want to, by the way, give him a pass on the last interception. That was horrendous. He throws it into a team meeting. You're only down 12 points. There's 2 minutes left. Yeah, that was absolutely visions. And he's got to understand, you are not at Utah State anymore. These games actually matter, okay? And so to me, I'm sorry, you did the same stuff in college and you haven't improved. I told everybody, I warned everybody this year that don't you dare put him up there in that elite category. He hasn't earned it. And until he puts the team before himself, all right, he's got to understand this is a team game. Man, it ain't about you, how cool you can throw the football down the field. It has nothing to do with that. And until he understands it, you're not going to beat those good teams.
And until he understands, we as defenders know who you are too, and that how aggressive you are. Dio's talking about how the decisions he doesn't have to make. We know those are the ones you're going to make, so we play him that way. That's what Bond did by coming off his man coverage, because you don't want this 5-yard check down. You're going for the deep end cut. That's one thing. The other thing is this. Do we feel Jordan Love is a threat with his legs? The one probably left that I'm threatening is Jared Goff, okay? But still, you got nothing with your legs, Love. So if you don't have the arm and the right mentality to use the arm, then you continue to fail.
Danny, this is the offense, though, this Matt LaFleur offense that has made superstars out of so many quarterbacks, right? They all love to play in this thing. And so why is it not working? What is it that he and the coach have to sit down and figure out this offseason for them to take the next step?
Yeah, you can't be just a talent anymore. I would tell you that Jordan Love's talent is right now holding him back. And what I mean by that is this, and Greeny, you've heard me say this on this show so often. Mechanically, he still is a subpar player. He still relies on his physical talent too much. And it is a very fine line where you take this incredibly physically talented guy and you don't want to get rid of that natural athletic instinct. But we have to mechanically get more sound and consistent. I do think the injuries hurt him a little bit this year with regards to that, but so often falling back from some of the throws, so often, and I'll talk about it from last year, the bounce up in the air. And so you get away with it at times because you're so remarkably talented until you start to play against teams that figure you out a little bit more, pressure you a certain way a little bit more, rotate coverages a certain way. And so mechanically, we're talking about, can you get rid of the ball in 2.3 seconds instead of 2.5 seconds? That 0.2 of a second is an eternity in the NFL. So I think that's the focus point. I think the second thing, and it's touching on what Teddy was referencing, if I were Green Bay, I'd sit down with him and hit interceptions, and I'd go, we got to learn when and where. There are times when you got to try to go do something cool and you got to go make us play. And there are times when you don't. And we have to grow on when.
Arrogance. That's why you see a lot of these throws that he makes, because he feels like he can throw it at any spot possible.
Yeah, but you can't have decision-making arrogance, Wood. You can't have decision-making.
I understand that, but part of arm arrogance is the fact that in your mind, you're able to make those type of decisions.
That's what it is, yeah.
Because you can hit those balls in. I also will say this. I think, listen, part of the reason that Green Bay was so successful running the football, he got hurt, and then,
Malik Willis
came in, and their run game diversified, and it became what it is. But also part of it, I think, was to take the ball out of his hands some, because we know that this guy has a propensity to turn the ball, can turn the ball over. So when you're able to run the ball, guess what? You're less likely to turn the ball over at the quarterback position. So this dude just needs to understand, like, number one, utilize all your tools. He doesn't utilize his legs. Okay, that's an important aspect of your game that we're seeing littered all around the National Football League. And then more importantly, you got to be more of a team player. Dan talked about, all of us talked about it. Your defense played a hell of a game against the Philadelphia Eagles, and you wasted it. Why? Because, again, arm arrogance.
All right, so the Packers go off into what will be a long off season. We go off into what will be the continuation of the conversation. And we're looking forward Sunday night to a heavyweight showdown for the ages. They are the two leading candidates for MVP. They were probably the two best players in the NFL this year. And they're going head-to-head Sunday, Lamar versus Josh, with everything at stake, plus another playoff loss. What's the plan, Pittsburgh? Could Mike Tomlin's time with the Steelers actually be over? We'll talk about that as we remind you that it is a Pick Six Monday. The Texans' Eric Murray hooked up America with 6 free boneless wings at Applebee's, available for dine-in, delivery, and to-go today. We'll be right back.
At Dots, an ordinary pretzel just isn't enough, so they add savory seasoning and tempting buttery flavor into every delicious twist. Now that's enough to make you build an all-pretzel pantry with a biometric security system. Dots, sensationally seasoned pretzels.
At The RealReal, over 10,000 new arrivals drop every day, so you can shop all this from right here. The best part? It's up to 90% off. The RealReal, authenticated luxury resale. Shop now with code TRR20 for 20% off. Terms apply.
Achy joints? Reach for the spray. Muscle soreness? Reach for the spray. With Tidal, next generation pain relief. Tidal Cryotherapy Spray and Tidal Heat Therapy Spray penetrate deep for rapid relief. Available online or at your favorite retailer.
The bold Louisiana flavor and crispy crunch of Popeye's signature chicken is the meal your craving deserves. And now you can get 3 pieces for just $5 and make it a meal for only $3 more.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
My moderate to severe Crohn's disease
and my ulcerative colitis symptoms kept me
out of the picture. Now there's Sky Rizzy.
I've got places to go and I'm feeling free. Controlling my symptoms means everything to me. Control is
It's the bottom of the hour. You're watching Get Up, and we are presented by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. We're looking forward to wrapping up Wild Card Weekend tonight, Vikings and Rams on ESPN. But let's do some first impressions on the matchups we know we will have next week in the round. Dan, the battle of the MVP frontrunners. It's Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. What do you have your eye on?
Yeah, just that. I mean, how remarkable both these players have been. Really good again this past weekend. I thought some of the touch throws that he had, one for a touchdown, another to Isaiah Likely was great. And then Josh Allen. Josh Allen was absolutely spectacular yesterday versus a very good defense. And the playmaking ability, what guy is going to make that one play that just, you're like, no way that you should be as a person allowed to go make that play versus other people and do. Both of them have been absolutely sensational. I'll be fired up to watch that one Sunday night.
These teams met early in the year. Baltimore won going away. It was a dominating performance, Rex. What reason should anyone have to think this could be different?
Oh, well, I mean, it's not going to be different unless Buffalo makes it different. And how are you going to do it? You got to change what you do defensively. You got to get out of playing all those little DBs all over the place, regardless of what their personnel grouping is. That's good in theory, all right? But are you
somehow? And I'm with you, and how they change things now just to stop the run, which you did in the past. But still, it's like you got to score. Josh Allen's got to score.
And D-Wood, did we see the formula all year long? Like Rex said it great on Saturday on Countdown. He said there's only one coordinator in the league that can stop Derrick Henry, and it's his own offensive coordinator. Well, they did it. They ran the ball. They ran the ball with Lamar. They played that physical style we all wanted to see them play last year. Is that the formula for Baltimore against the Bills on Sunday?
That's who Baltimore is. That's who you are. Like, that's why last year just drove me crazy in the AFC Championship game. You played a certain style all year long, and then in the biggest game, you go away from it. What the hell are you thinking about? And so now, if you're Baltimore, it's like there's no deviating from who we are. Okay, we're going to play good defense, and we got Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry in the backfield. Hell, I'll run them 50 times again, like they did against Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh defense is, they're like, they're
supposed to be good.
They're supposed to be good, but they're not. But I would do the same thing. If I'm Baltimore, I'm getting off the bus, and I'm letting you know right off the bus, we're not changing a thing. We're coming downhill. Let's see if you do anything to change what you did from the first time.
D-Wood, would you just say, hey, offensive line, we're going to run it right here.
We're going to run right here.
That's your mentality, right? That's your mentality. Why change? Why change?
So, Danny, quickly, what does Josh do? I feel like while the Bills have home field advantage and are the higher seed, I feel like the momentum in every way feels like it's going in Baltimore's direction. What does Josh do? What can Josh do to win this game, which I don't think most people will expect him to do?
Patience would be huge for Josh, which has been the kind of the calling card of his season. That's why he's had his MVP type of season. Is he's been so good decision making wise and not forcing the football. I was actually, just the overall takeaway, Greeny, I was a lot more impressed with Buffalo than I was Baltimore over this past weekend. I thought the Baltimore game was much more about the Steelers team being disgusting tape-wise. But I also think the Bills, in the different ways that they'll get to all their different 4x1s, will create some problems. This is with two backs on the field to start. I know Teddy broke it down before, but this is two running backs flowing to one side. Yeah. Coop at the bottom of the screen. You get Shakir to work to the middle of the field. This is a defense that he will see versus Baltimore. Josh does a fantastic job of pinning that ball on Khalil Shakir. Now we'll go get to it a different way with a Curtis Samuel in a back and a tight end and a back flowing through the backside, and then Josh checking the ball down instead of forcing the football down the field. And so the different ways that they get to these diverse formations and the different ways that they will lift coverage to try to create some voids. Now a little bit of emotion, but again, getting to another 4x1, and they can run the football with James Cook. I think both of these teams schematically are going to stress each defense, both in the run game and the pass game. We should be in for a phenomenal football game.
I'm looking at the Ravens -1 on the road in that game next Sunday night. Let me get to some of the other games here. D-Wood, you're up next. We got Rams-Vikings tonight. Which of these teams would be a bigger threat in Philadelphia next week?
I'm going to, man, I want to say Rams because of Matt Stafford. How many teams want to play against Matt Stafford in the postseason? This dude just knows how to win. He knows how to play. And they're healthy. They got Kyron Williams in the backfield. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. The Rams could present some problems.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Vikings. I think, look, you won 14 games. Really?
That's 5 seed in NFL.
That's 14 games. Yeah. So to me, and then that defense can present problems if you're not ready for that kind of pressure scheme. And then offensively, look, anytime you have Justin Jefferson, you have
Jordan Addison.
Sam Darnold was playing pretty good until Detroit smashed him. I just think that it's going to be. I think they have a chance. I really do. I think Minnesota. You don't just win 14 games by happenstance.
He would. Stafford's great. I mean, they go up against that Eagle front. I mean, it's you got. That pass rush is going to be there. I mean, how can they protect Matt Stafford against a scheme like that? I think it's Minnesota. Minnesota is a team that, I said in the meeting, this is probably the best five seed in the history of the league.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are bad.
It is the best record any wildcard team has ever had. Danny, you're there in Arizona for the game tonight, NFL Live, and all of our coverage, obviously, will be live from Arizona all day for the Vikings and the Rams. How about it? If you're Nick Sirianni watching this game, who are you hoping to get?
I'm hoping to get the Rams because the Rams, Philadelphia played and Saquon had 300 yards against them. So I think that's the big difference. Both are very good football teams. I think when the Rams are hot offensively, they can go beat anybody. The Vikings defense run-wise is sensational. They're a top 5 run defense. And I think if you're asking me what's the best way to try to knock off Philadelphia, you got to handle the run. You got to punch people in the mouth at the line of scrimmage, and you got to try to reset the line of scrimmage. I think Minnesota has shown throughout the season to be capable of that. And then the second thing is to really hurt Minnesota coverage-wise in their pass defense, because their pass defense is gettable. You got to work the middle of the field in your pass game, high-low concepts to throw the ball in between the hashes. Philadelphia doesn't do that. I think that's one of the reasons why they were covered up so much yesterday. And so I think it's the best favorable matchup for one of those teams.
We will pick the game, Vikings at Rams, tonight. A little later this morning, D. Wood will bring out the mallet and we'll smash the helmets. One more question here. Rex Ryan, who is the biggest Houston Texans fan in the world, obviously, Rex.
Absolutely.
We know you love them and they love you. Saturday, we will have that game. Texans and the Chiefs, 4:30 Eastern on ESPN and ABC and ESPN+. Should the Chiefs be concerned about this defense and this quarterback and these Texans that are coming into Kansas City?
Well, it's certainly not a bye week, is it? Oh, my goodness. I think Houston has a chance here. And because I'm not going to ignore what I just saw. I'm not going to ignore it. That pass rush was absolutely ferocious. And it wasn't just against the 5 offensive linemen. They kept shipping. Your superstar right tackle for the Chargers that I can't stand is overrated as hell. But anyway, they couldn't block them. They could not block them. And so to me, yes, that's a problem. What's the Achilles heel for Kansas City's offense? Pass protection. This team, and I get it. I know they beat them by 8 points in the regular season in a game. I get it. But they look different. For some reason, something clicked to that football team, and they look different.
That was a Saturday game late in the year where Tank Dell had the terrible injury in that game.
I'm on the other side of you now. I mean, I don't think they have a chance.
Do you think it's a bye? Are they on a bye week?
I'm not going there now. I'm not doing that.
Hey, Joe Mixon, you want to smoke a Teddy Bruschi cigar this week?
They were rushing a statue in Herbert that was sitting there the whole time. This is Patrick Mahomes we're talking about. He's going to convert on every 3rd and 3 where you got man coverage and those guys are rushing up the field trying to get Mahomes. He'll get out of there. That's going to be the difference. Herbert had 0 yards rushing. He did not use his legs at all. This is a different beast, that quarterback in Kansas City.
Yeah, I lean towards Rex. I do think Kansas City wins the game, but I'll tell you, Derek Stingley and Lassiter and Petrie and Daniil Hunter and Anderson, they can play man coverage on the back end. And those cats on the edge are awesome pass rushers. And don't forget, if they get into an obvious pass rush situation, Teddy, Danico Autry as a pass rusher on the inside as well. I think that Houston, and I agree with Rex said it perfectly. I can't ignore what I just saw. The way they edge rushed and play man coverage. Now it's the Chargers and they only had Ladd McConkey, but I think they can put up a fight.
What do you think, T-Wood?
I'll say the fight. I'll say a fight. Sure, it'll be a fight. It's just the Chiefs are going to win. The Chiefs are going to win this game.
I'm looking at 7.5 points. I'm looking at Chiefs minus. Are you willing to lay the 7.5?
You're with me.
Teddy is laying the points. Go ahead.
I'll take Kansas City.
Listen, I think the Chiefs will win. I think, I agree with Rex. We can't ignore what we saw from the Houston Texans in that game. That defensive line totally got after Justin Herbert. On the flip side, though, will they be able to protect C.J. Stroud? That is a problem for the Houston Texans.
No, absolutely, D-Wood, from especially the inside with Chris Jones attacking that interior offensive line. I agree. The other thing is, too, they're not dumb enough to understand that Houston's offense is all inside routes.
Right.
And you're not going to let number 12 bust you inside all day long. That's what he runs.
Right.
Like it looked like the
Nico Collins.
Surprised by Nico Collins. But so I think I give the Kansas City – I'll take them to win the game, but I think it's going to be super close.
Listen, I don't think the Texans have a chance because they don't have Rex to motivate them. I mean, last week they had Rex as the reason that, but they're going to send him a game ball.
It's a bye week. Hold up. It's a bye week again.
Download the ESPN Bet app to claim your new player bonus, and for a limited time, unlock access to 30 days of ESPN Plus to stream exclusive live sports. Sign up with the promo code GETUP to get started today. Coming up, another Steeler playoff loss. Could they actually move on from their legendary coach? Someone here thinks it might be time. You'll find out who, and we'll find out if Rex has Sneaky Hembo's number today. Here we go with their next game. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes will tie which coach-quarterback tandem for the second most playoff games together? Obviously, Brady and Belichick are one.
They should have given me the obvious.
Hembo, I need a couple of stats over here. Now the guys are reading books over there. Never mind. The answer is next. An idea of just how dominating. So Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes this weekend will be together for their 19th playoff game.
Right.
That will tie for the second most of any coach-quarterback combo ever with 19. To be clear, at the top of the list is Belichick and Brady with 41. 41 for Belichick and Brady. Second place is 19. Who holds that second place?
Well, I mean, first off, D. Wood, you thought it was who? Me and Sanchez.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. That's the most in Jet history. However, I'm going to go with, let's see, we won 4 games. Who won 4 Super Bowls? Well, then I'm looking at, wait a second now. By the way, this is not my final answer because I'm thinking Bill Walsh, right?
Right.
But, it's got to be him and Joe Montana. Oh, but he had a lefty in there. He had some lefty in there.
Steve Young.
How about Chuck Noll and Terry Bradshaw?
That's correct. Bradshaw is right.
What am I searching for?
Get it.
I own you, my friend. Are you kidding me? Did you really think I was going to go Bill Walsh there? Who were you taking?
Let me tell you how tightly bunched it is. Belichick and Brady, 41. Nolan Bradshaw and Andy Reid and Mahomes this weekend will be at 19. Mike Tomlin, Ben Roethlisberger, Marv Levy, Jim Kelly, Tom Landry, Roger Staubach, and Sean Payton, Drew Brees, all at 17. So they're that closely bunched.
Wow.
Now we mentioned
I
Tomlin.
like that one.
We mentioned Tomlin in that group. Down goes Hembo. We mentioned Tomlin in that group. Mike Tomlin, over the course of this weekend, became the only Super Bowl winning coach ever to lose 6 consecutive playoff games. Let the record show this team finished its season by losing 5 straight games. They never led in any of them, and they did not score more than 17 points in any of them. Dan, we've given some thoughts on this morning. Now we come to you. Is there any consideration in your mind to the idea that after 18 years, perhaps it is time for a change in Pittsburgh?
I would not think that way, no. I do think that there are changes to be made. I think that we can say that Mike Tomlin is a really good coach. This was not a well-prepared football team for that game. That tape in the first half is disgusting. It's as bad as I've seen a Steelers tape. The offensive line goes the wrong way on a consistent basis. One guy here, one guy there. They're very rarely on the same page. The pass game is George Pickens or nothing. The quarterback is limited. The defensive communication is poor. All you have to do is run motion against them and they will get out of gaps. So does that fall on coaching? Absolutely, it does. Do I think that some of the changes need to be made with how Mike Tomlin kind of sees the big picture of the staff and says, okay, how do we adjust things that maybe we get a little bit more detail-oriented and detail-centric? And yeah, they need to address the quarterback position because he goes into every game with one hand tied behind his back when it comes central to that. I do not think that moving on from Mike Tomlin is the answer, but I do think after watching this weekend, you have to have a very long, hard talk about how do they make changes to improve when it matters the most.
D. Wood, you're going a little viral for saying you think that it could be time, and it's not because Mike Tomlin, I'm just paraphrasing what you said earlier, not that he isn't a great coach, but that sometimes after 18 years, it's just time for a change.
Yeah, like I said, I preference what I said with the fact that I think Mike Tomlin is an excellent coach. He's been in Pittsburgh 18 years. He's never had a losing season. But I'll just reference what Mike Tomlin constantly preaches to everyone. The standard is the standard. Yep. What is the standard in Pittsburgh? To me, that's the overall arching question that needs to be answered in that building. What is the standard? Is the standard barely getting to the playoffs and getting eliminated wild card weekend? Is that the standard we hold that the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, by the way, one of the few blue chip organizations that we have in the National Football League? I think this thing is bigger than a quarterback. I think this thing is bigger than, a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Listen, sometimes change is necessary because things get stale in the building. We saw Andy Reid have a whole lot of success with the Philadelphia Eagles, but it was time.
I mean, Bill Belichick last year.
Right. Things run its course, and that's okay. Andy Reid moves on to Kansas City, and look at him now. Look how much success Andy Reid has had in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. Again, I'm not disparaging Mike Tomlin. I just think that now's the time. Yeah.
I'm not asking you to put yourself in his head, but if you were him, he has a no-trade clause. He can control this situation. It's very unlikely they're going to fire him, so he can control the situation. Could you see him, again, I know you're just guessing, wanting a different situation, maybe a fresh start somewhere else? He would get another job in about 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Could you see him wanting to make a change after 18 years and with some of the issues we're talking about?
No. And you know why? He's going to fight like that's who he is.
Yeah.
I'm going to make my team better. I'm going to get that standard set again. My defense is where I'm going to look. That's not playing to the standard either. And so to me, that's what I think he does. I think he's like, no, man, I'm going to show you how great I am. What Ali used to say, that's what Mike Tomlin's going to do. And no, this is my football team. I am a Pittsburgh Steeler. I will retire as the greatest Steeler head coach of all time. He stays the course, and he gets it.
There's a lot of back channeling that goes on with these coaches. These agents about finding out if there's interest here, finding out if there's interest there. Mike Tomlin wants a quarterback, I'll tell you that. And if he can get one guaranteed with a team somewhere else that has a better situation,
exactly.
He coaches with his gut like he did with the quarterback situation, his own situation. I'm sure he's thought about, and these coaches think 3 to 4 years down the line.
For what it's worth, he won 10 games this year with 2 quarterbacks that nobody wanted. I don't mean that disparagingly. The league told us that. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. We'll see if that changes. I have to let Dan go for first take. Danny, we'll do the joke on Thursday. Thank you for getting up this morning.
Appreciate you, D.O.
Bright and early in the desert. Have great shows today.
Good to see you,
Again,
boys.
all of the coverage coming today.
Yeah, we got the bubble, man.
We finish it up, as always, with